Hello, cruisers, and welcome to Bite Size Cruises. Today, we're going to talk about 10 common mistakes first-time cruisers make so you can avoid them. First is booking the wrong cruise. So each ship is going to have a different price point, activities, amenities, and kind of an overall vibe catering to different types of cruisers. So your first step is to figure out what that might be and what you want out of your vacation. For example, Disney Cruise Line or Royal Caribbean are going to have a ton of activities on board that are great for families, as to where Carnival or NCL tend to cater to a more budget-friendly cruiser. Next is flying in the same day. So if you're leaving from a port that you need to fly or travel far to, I highly recommend going in the night before so you can have a nice relaxing start to your cruise. The last thing you want is a little bit of bad weather or a connecting flight to go wrong and suddenly you're missing your ship, because I can tell you it will not wait for you. Next, we have thinking everything is all-inclusive. There are definitely cruise lines out there where more things are all-inclusive. For example, Virgin, all of their specialty dining is included, as to where on Royal Caribbean, that's going to be an extra cost. So you don't want to get to the end of your cruise and suddenly you have this giant bill of things that you thought were included. For example, alcohol if you don't have the alcohol package, or spa services, things like that. So do your research ahead of time, figure out what restaurants and what things are included, and if there's anything else that you want, purchasing it ahead of time is always a great idea. You can normally get deals on it before the cruise line, especially on the website or in the app, looking at that and making sure that you're not going to have any hidden charges at the end of your cruise. Next, we have tipping twice. So something that can kind of confuse people when it's their first time cruising is there's a daily gratuities that's usually already added. It comes out to between $15 and $18 a day, and they're typically charged directly to your account. So any spa services you purchase on board tend to also have a 15 or 20% tip already included. And the cruise staff it deserves all of this. They should definitely get their tips. But if you're not prepared to tip on top of that, definitely check if it's already added in there. Now, that kind of goes without saying. If anybody goes above and beyond, or if you feel like tipping, it's always encouraged and you can definitely tip on top of that, but don't feel like you have to tip on every single thing 20% every time. Next, we have not reading the daily cruise planner. So a really important thing is that every day you're going to get a daily cruise planner delivered right to your door, or there's going to be things in the app. And you have to remember that part of your price for your cruise are all of those things that are already included. So you want to make sure you're getting the most of your money and really making the most of your vacation. So check out the daily cruise planner and plan your itinerary of what you want to do that day, over what cool shows there are, or maybe there's a cool wine tasting and things like that, knowing that you're really making the most of your time on board. Next would be not researching cruise ports and itineraries. So one of the biggest mistakes first-time cruisers make is not looking into the ports they're going to and planning out what they want to do that day. For example, if there's a certain excursion they want to go on, a lot of times those can sell out, so making sure you're doing that ahead of time, or just knowing what kind of rules and regulations are happening at that port right now. So I know a lot of COVID restrictions are being removed right now, but they definitely have impacted cruisers. We're getting ready to leave on one that goes to Bermuda, and you need to have special paperwork for that. Or earlier this year, we traveled to Jamaica, and we had researched ahead of time, so we already knew what kind of restrictions were there. We knew that it was very limited where you could go on your own. So if you did want to explore, you should probably sign up for an excursion. But we noticed on the cruise, a bunch of people were really upset because they didn't research ahead of time and they thought they could go off on their own, and then they were told they weren't allowed. So skip the headache, make sure that you're really enjoying yourself and that you're not going to be disappointed later when you get home. So knowing what you're in store for, planning out your itineraries for the ports, and really making the most of your vacation. Next, we have skipping travel insurance. We have said this over and over again. Do not skip the travel insurance. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make. And even if most likely nothing's going to happen, and even if you think that, we highly recommend just getting the basic travel insurance, and that way, God forbid, if something does go wrong, at least your medical emergency, like evacuation if you're coming back, things like that would be covered, or you can recoup some of that money. Speaking of money, our next tip is not bringing any cash. Most people think of cruising as a cash-free vacation, especially if you're setting everything up ahead of time. But when you go to different ports, it is still nice to have money on you, or if you're going to an excursion, and you want to be able to tip the person running the excursion, things like that. Always having a little bit of cash on hand is really nice. Next, we have leaving your phone and data on. Oh my gosh, do not leave your data on. You are going to spend so much money. We have seen it happen. You hear horror stories of people spending thousands of dollars because they just leave their data on. They get charged crazy roaming. So really make sure what you have, or make sure that you turn your phone into airplane mode, that you turn your data off when you are on the cruise ship. Another little tip for that is make sure that you enable Wi-Fi calling ahead of time. So if when you're gone, you want to be able to call home or check on things, you can just call over the Wi-Fi. Next, we have not using a travel agent. And considering that we are travel agents, we might sound a little biased, but using a travel agent is just the easiest way to get the cheapest price for your vacation. We're going to know different hidden things to do to save money, any of deals going on at the best times to cruise, and also just when you're on your cruise. For example, if your flight gets canceled, if there's a delay, if any new regulations pop up, we're going to be the first ones to know, and we're going to be able to help you do that. So overall, we have booking the wrong cruise, flying in the same day, thinking everything is all inclusive, tipping twice, not reading the daily cruise planner, not researching cruise ports and itineraries, skipping travel insurance, not bringing cash, leaving your phone data on, and not using a travel agent. If you can avoid those 10 mistakes, you'll be off to a great start and hopefully onto a lifelong cruising adventure. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, or if you have any other tips that you would recommend, is there a mistake that you've made that you want to help others avoid? Let us know. All right, I look forward to hearing from all of you. Have a great day.